Pennsylvania is one of the nation's largest and fastest growing natural gas producers. While other states have adopted measures to reduce methane and other air pollution from oil and gas development, Pennsylvania has not. Please speak to your position on the importance of reducing methane emissions given the increasing role that natural gas plays as a fuel source in the electric power sector.
Mr. Wolf?
We need to make sure that we take full advantage of this natural resource, but we have to make sure that we're taking advantage of it environmentally responsibly, which is why I want to put a 5% severance tax, an extraction tax on the extraction of natural gas from beneath our feet. And I think that 5% tax would raise, according to some estimates with the amount of production out there right now, would raise about $1 billion. Some of that should go to the Department of Environmental Protection to make sure that we have the right regulations, to make sure that we have the right number of people who will oversee the regulation of this industry so that we do have a clean environment. It's not just methane gas leakage, it's also clean water, that we make sure that we protect our environment. That's what I would do, and again, I think that's a contrast between the approach this governor's taken to that issue.
Governor Corbett?
I totally disagree with him on the approach that we have taken. We have taken a very, very forceful approach to the protection of the environment. And just recently you may have seen different fines that we've imposed on major companies for making spills, for making mistakes out there. When we passed the Marcellus Shale legislation, Act 13, we created the toughest environmental laws in the nation when it comes to the development of natural gas here in the United States. We've had other states and we have had other countries come and see exactly what we did. The men and women who work in DEP have been out there on a regular basis conducting the inspections, following up on those inspections. When necessary, we've been imposing the fines that are necessary to get compliance with those. There are always next steps in that, and I'll finish up when we get back to it.
Mr. Wolf, you've been very clear about implementing a 5% severance tax on natural gas drilling. And you've said you'd overhaul the state's personal income tax. In all fairness to the voters, shouldn't you explain what your specific plans are for overhauling the personal income tax? Who will pay less? Who will pay more? By how much?
Well, I think I've been as specific as I can possibly be. I want to make sure that we have a fair tax system. That applies to the property taxes, which are too high. It applies to the personal income tax, which I think is unfair. And it applies to corporate net income taxes. And it applies to the Marcellus Shale tax, which, as you correctly point out, I want to put a 5% tax on at the wellhead. All those things are my attempt to make this system fair. I want to make sure that middle-class taxpayers, for example, get the first break they've had in over 20 years in Pennsylvania. That's what I would do with my taxes. It's as specific as I can be. I think I can make it a progressive one in terms of the income tax. I think we can reduce property taxes in Pennsylvania. That's what we ought to do as a state, and that would be in stark contrast to what we've done in this administration.
Governor Corbett?
Well, in my administration, I've told people what we were going to do, and we did it. When I was running for office 4 years ago, I laid out what we were going to do, and I kept those promises. Now, Mr. Wolf wants to spend more money. We know that. But the question is how much. He needs to tax more to get that additional money. But he won't tell the people of Pennsylvania exactly how much, nor will he tell them right here, a few weeks from the election, how he's going to do it. Whose taxes are going to go up? Whose taxes are going to go down? He's had many, many months. He's had years to take a look at this. He's been the Secretary of Revenue. The documents are available to take a look at it. We've actually sent him documents again, I think 2 times, to take a look at what is the plan. Just to say that we're going to do something fair is trying to be all things to all people. Right now, I see pensions, I see DEP, I see education, all going to be paid out of $1 billion.
You have to wrap up, Governor. All right, thank you. Mr. Wolf, I hate to continue to press, but we do want details, and you talk about fairness in the system. I think fairness would mean what you're going to do, even if it means telling us at what level do you see middle income or upper income, so we have some more meat when the voters go into the polls and have to make this decision.
Yes, I have gone as far as I think I can go and still be honest. If you're in the $70,000 to $90,000 range as an individual, and you can double that if you're married, you should not pay any more in taxes. And people making below that will get a break. That's my goal. I can't be any more specific about that because actually, as we know in the last budget, even with the information, this administration came in $700 million below revenue projections. We don't know where we're going to end up in this budget year. And I don't know what the level of the fiscal mess we're going to have. We have had five downgradings of the Pennsylvania bond rating over the last just 2 years. So until I think I get there, until I find out what we actually are facing, I'm not going to be any more specific than what I've already said, which is if you're making $70,000, $90,000 a year, you're not going to pay any more in my administration.
Governor Corbett.
Well, that's again another dodge of answering the question. How much? How much are you going to spend? What do you project as revenue? And how are you going to get the taxes to do that? Who's going to be taxed? By what levels? You can't get a progressive tax within 4 years. You know that's a constitutional amendment that's required to do that. The fastest you could get is maybe 4, probably 5 years to do that. So where are you going to get the money for DEP, for the pensions, without increasing taxes on Pennsylvanians? And downgrading, we know the reason for downgrading. I called about it. I warned the people of Pennsylvania. I warned the legislature about where downgrading was being caused. It was because of the pension. The pension obligation, Elaine, that you talked about, the $65 billion that's coming. That's why our downgrading is going on.